So if I asked you to map out your own physical body, you'd probably rely on biology. You'd think of veins, muscles, organs, all neatly labeled like a textbook diagram.
Right, right, exactly.
But what if the actual blueprint for human anatomy wasn't found under a microscope, but like in geology and the cosmos?
Well, that completely upends our standard framework. I mean, we're so conditioned to reduce the human form to functional mechanics, and we kind of just skip straight over any inherent mystery or power.
Which is exactly why today's deep dive is throwing out the medical chart entirely.
Yeah, we really are.
We're focusing on a single, incredibly evocative text today. It's a poem titled My Vagina. And it's a short piece, but it is densely packed with profound metaphors that fundamentally reshape how we see ourselves. So, okay, let's unpack this. How does the author take a piece of human anatomy and elevate it into a symbol of cosmic and sacred power?
Yeah, the author basically accomplishes this by bypassing biology entirely and just going straight to geography. Yeah, geography. To understand the text's full scope, we really have to look at how it explicitly roots the body in the physical earth before reaching for anything divine. The poem uses phrases like ancient earth and rivers carved in canyons deep.
Okay, wait, I see the ancient Earth metaphor, but isn't there a danger here of kind of falling into that Mother Earth cliche? I mean, by strictly tying female anatomy to nature, aren't we just trading a sterile clinical chart for, like, a 1970s mystical stereotype?
That's a fair question.
Like, how does this poem avoid that trap?
Well, it avoids the cliche through the sheer scale of the language. When the author pairs ancient earth with moonlit tides and a blooming lotus, they aren't just making a gentle, decorative nature comparison.
Right, it feels a lot bigger than that.
Exactly. By using concepts like canyons and tides, the author forces your brain to process the body at a macro scale. It takes something intimate and gives it immense, undeniable geographical volume.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you can't pathologize a canyon. You can only stand in awe of it.
That is such a good point. You're shifting the body from a localized object into an unstoppable environment.
Yeah. And once the poem establishes the body as this vast, unmovable geographical force, it finally has the structural foundation to introduce something sacred. You can't build a grounded shrine on a sterile medical chart.
Right, you need the earth first.
Yeah, it needs that ancient earth bedrock first. What's fascinating here is how the vocabulary then scales all the way up to the spiritual realm, using terms like temple, a quiet altar, and the rhythms of the sphere.
The text explicitly unifies spirit, flesh, and truth. It's almost like a radical redistribution of reverence.
Oh, totally.
We are constantly taught to look up at the sky or into ancient texts for the divine. But this poem argues that the architecture of the sacred is already built right into human tissue. It completely short-circuits the idea that the physical form is somehow separate from spiritual truth.
It really demands that we view physical form as a literal place of worship.
Absolutely. But here's where it gets really interesting, though. There is a striking contrast in the tone that I'm struggling to reconcile a bit.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, on one hand, this space is described as a silent center and a quiet altar. It sounds incredibly peaceful, almost passive, right?
Right.
But in the exact same breath, it's described as fierce and wild. How can a space be a silent sanctuary and simultaneously untamed?
Think about the eye of a hurricane.
Oh, okay.
The center is utterly still, right? But it dictates a massive chaotic force. The poem refers to this space as the mother root, holding life's first spark. The mechanics of creation aren't gentle or neat.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I mean, biological creation is a wild, explosive power.
So the poem isn't forcing us to choose between peaceful reflection and raw power.
No, not at all.
It's arguing that true, untamed power actually originates from a place of deep, grounded silence.
Exactly. It leaves the reader with a completely reimagined map of the self. The human body is no longer a machine waiting to break down. It's a divine reflection, deeply connected to the universe itself.
Where every pulse is a sacred song. It's such a brilliant way to reclaim our physical reality.
It really is.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a thought to mull over on your own. The author applies this profound reverent lens to one specific part of the anatomy.
Right, just the one part.
But what if you zoomed out? If you were to view every single part of the human form through this exact same lens of sacred cosmic geography, well, how would that fundamentally change your relationship with your own body?